Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I'm very excited to bring to you Eden Lovejoy, and let me tell you a little bit about Eden. She is transforming how business is managed with her innovative virtual GM matrix. Traditional management has often meant either hiring a dedicated manager or shouldering the responsibilities yourself. But the virtual GM matrix offers a third option, a comprehensive system that enables your team to step into the role of general management. This approach lets you focus on strategic leadership while your team takes ownership, fosters engagement, and develops accountability loops, ensuring you're connected to daily operations without getting bogged down. Eden helps leaders move beyond working on their business and teaches them the power of working with their business to cultivate a collaborative, impactful, and energizing workplace culture. So we're going to talk today about moving from management to leadership in your business. Today, we're going to be discussing moving from management to leadership in your business. Please join me in welcoming Eden Lovejoy. Eden, it is so great to have you on. And those that watch our podcast know that we talk about this all the time. The people don't leave businesses, they leave their manager. And most of it is because rather than leading their people, they're just trying to manage them. So I'm so excited to have this discussion with you today.
Thank you, Vicki. I'm thrilled to be here.
We always start with two easy questions. I always say easy and then people surprise me. But first, where do you live? Where do you call home right now?
Sure. I'm in Alaska. I live in Anchorage, Alaska. I've been here for a little over 40 years.
It always amazes me. You're probably about the fifth person that I've interviewed from Alaska. And I live in Georgia now. I was from Pittsburgh, and I can't imagine moving to Alaska. But I will tell you that everybody that I know that lives there loves it.
It's a beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And the great gift today is that we can work with people all over the country and all over the world from being in one of the most beautiful places on the planet. So
that's fantastic.
Spoiled, I think.
Yeah, you are spoiled. So we gave a little bit about what you do today, but I'd love for you to share the journey that got you to do what you do today. And, just share a little bit about the pivots that you might have had to take, the changes, the direction, and really that aha moment that said, this is what I am meant to do.
Well, I mean, it's a great story. It's a story that's become more clear for me over time. And it goes way back to when I was a child. I grew up, I was the leader of a very small team. I was the oldest of four children. And my mother was looking for the answer in San Francisco in the 70s. So there was a lot of alternative lifestyle, alternative religions and philosophies, and a lot of change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And our little team felt like it keeps changing. What's the rules? What's the guideline? What's the thing? And and so coming from that environment, of course, I went the exact opposite, and I went from any alternative anything into operations and systems. And as a young woman, I realized early on that I never wanted to go into corporate, that I love the diversity of small business and the change of that and the flexibility and all the different things we do.
Mm.
And so after rebellious youth brought me to Alaska when I was 18, I figured out what I wanted to do in school was work in on business management. I wanted to study that, but I always knew that I wanted to reach as many businesses as possible.
Mm.
So over the course of my career, I have been, I say that I'm a general manager by craft and inclination. I've worked with a lot of different companies from nonprofit to for-profit, from venture capital funded startup manufacturing to a 90 employee construction company. I've led a variety of teams, but always with that view of how can I share this with a broader base. So I've been out in the market working independently with clients since 2010, so the last 14 years, and testing my theories and now
Mm.
finally writing my book. But the real aha moment has been in the last few years where I've come full circle and recognized that all of that foundational philosophy piece, that internal spiritual piece is a
Mm.
huge part of what I do also, and I'm so grateful for that. So now I'm getting to tie it all together and share with people really both sides of operations from mindset and really learning how to be in a new space. So that's my life's journey.
Mm.
It's been very consistent for me that this is my work and this is my focus.
Ah, fantastic. And yes, I being 66, know all about the 70s. So what inspired you to develop the virtual GM matrix, and kind of go into how it differs from the traditional management approaches?
Sure, okay. Um, Well, back to the question of how do I translate what I do into as broad a base as possible. I think it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it, to
Mhm.
to translate what we do naturally and know how to do well into something other people can use.
Right.
So it has been a real process of, working with a variety of clients and observing myself. What are the things I always do when I come in?
Mm.
What are the things that I do to help business transform, and then putting those in some sort of order, well, in an order. The matrix definitely goes in order. The key things are things like the foundational piece, your mission,
Mhm.
vision and values, right? Those
Mhm.
pieces that are
Right.
core infrastructure pieces. I think we've heard about for years. What
Right.
I've discovered is that it's like my superpower, if I have one, would be
Mm.
being able to articulate that for people, to spend a brief amount of time with them and articulate that. So there's questions that I go through, and so drafting those and making sure they're available for people to walk through that process themselves. But then, and I think, I mean, I could talk for hours, and I don't really want to do that. I think the key piece to what's different
Mhm.
is you mentioned earlier that I teach people how to be collaborative, but it's collaborative from a place of we're collaborating to fulfill the mission and the vision and the values that are the owners. Like I'm
Right.
very focused on this is I work with privately held companies. So
Mm.
the owner's vision and mission needs to be reflected, and we're
Right.
building a team around that. So what that means is that the matrix um, is customizable. It's not like like it's systematic, but
Mhm.
it systematically creates a unique structure for this business to match this owner's mission, vision, and values.
Oh, awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly. It's awesome.
Yay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, and I'll tell clients, right? Like I had someone ask me one time, they wanted me to do an operations manual. And I said, well, at first I have to do your mission and vision and values. And they said, well, why do you have to do that to do an ops manual? And I said, well, you're a construction company, you're a framing company. If your mission is to create custom homes to match the vision of every client in every instance, that's going to be a very different operational system than if it is your mission to do reproducible, efficiency, cost controlled,
Yeah.
systematic, same thing every time.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to know who you are in order to
Hmm.
build your business to be one that you like. And if we don't build a business that you like, then we've missed the entire point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting that you talked about why do I have to know the vision and mission as a past project lead for many, many years. That was one of the stumbling points that I always had because I spend the first many months in some cases just doing information gathering. And if I don't know the mission and the vision, it's kind of difficult because the information I'm gathering sometimes informs that, but you would hope that the key stakeholders and the business owner knew what their mission and their vision and their core values all were. And so that was interesting that sometimes I had to help them discover that before we could even get moving.
Well, and I think that people know it, but it's like observing yourself doing work that you know intuitively.
Hmm.
Knowing who you are, what inspires you, or being inspired by what you're doing is different from being able to articulate that.
That's true.
And so really what we're up to with the Matrix is creating an environment where the team knows who you are enough as an owner and a leader to make the same decision that you would make if you were in
Mm.
the room when you're on vacation in the Galapagos Islands,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the outcome that we're up to. So we have to communicate it first, then we build that into all of the systems of, how we operate and whether we're having, what type of dialogue we're having in the company, what where those accountabilities are, and um, mm, accountability for feedback, accountability to the mission, the vision, the values. And
Hmm.
I have said for years, if your team member makes a decision that's different from what you would make, and you ask them why, and they say, well, I looked at the mission and I thought about our vision for this year and our strategic goal, and looked at these two values, and I really decided that was the best decision. Even if it's not the one you would have made, you're going to feel pretty good about the process,
Right. Yeah.
right? And know that your team is focused on getting the result that is important to you. And
Yeah.
that's really, and the fun thing about it is when people are invited into that, then we have a hiring process that's included in the matrix that is, we make sure we're attracting people who are
Mm.
inspired by who we are. We don't have square pegs and round holes.
Mm.
And then the energy kicks in, right? Because now we
Hmm.
all are clear about what we care about, and
Yeah.
people are motivated by emotional connection, not by the stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where we
Yeah.
need to build the system
It's
in.
so true. And one of the I guess stopping points oftentimes for a leader is that they hate to delegate because they're afraid that people aren't going to do things as they would do or in the best interest of their company. And so you're addressing that nicely to now clear up that fear, if you will, that that's going to happen, but still giving people the ability to think outside the box if it aligns with the core values and the mission and the vision.
Well, and you're exactly right. And I think there's two reasons why people don't delegate. One is because we're not certain they'll make a right decision. The other is because we're not certain that we're going to know what they're up to. And so the system that we put in place is about building the guardrails. So people
Mm.
need to know exactly what's their authority. So when we write role definitions using this matrix, there's key components, and one of the most critical is defining authority and how
Mm.
far that goes. And so when we put give people the parameters within this framework. You have flexibility and authority to make decisions. That really works.
Yeah.
And the other component that's very important is building into that the feedback loops.
Mm.
So it is, delegation is not abandonment. This is not
Yes.
about then turning it over and it's a free for all and we're just going to trust because they're inspired that it's going to go okay. As an owner, you need to know how you need to be able to see trend lines and how things are evolving so that you can be confident that you're able to stop anything that's heading in a downward direction early enough to
Mhm.
avoid, trauma.
We always want to avoid that. Can you explain how business owners go from managing their business to working with it? And that aligns with going from management to leadership.
Sure. Well, I think in the 80s we coined the phrase "don't work in your business, work on it." And I would suggest that that was a really great strategy in the 80s when your workforce was primarily baby boomers, and you
Hmm.
could just work on it and give people this is the 10 things to do, and they would do them because that's just what you did.
Hmm.
It's not an effective strategy today.
No.
Today we have to work with our business. It's a very fine nuance because I do not advocate managing by consensus.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about here. When we manage by consensus, we're always going to settle for the lowest common denominator.
Hmm.
And that's not going to take people where they want to be.
Right.
But working with the business means making sure that people, again, do have clear authority. They understand their contribution is valued. They have a voice. And when we put the values in place as a cultural framework, to have an employee have the opportunity to say, hey, boss, I know you're headed that direction, but that really doesn't feel consistent with this value we have here. Can we talk about that? What
Hmm.
happens is you end up you're on both of you are on the same side of the table looking at a problem rather than being in opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I think about manage, like I heard many years ago, we manage things, we lead people. When we're
Hmm.
trying to maneuver people into what um, what we want them to do, they feel maneuvered, they feel
Hmm.
manipulated, or they feel controlled, and especially today, people will rebel. Like, I don't
Hmm.
want that. I want to have choice and autonomy and opportunity. So our opportunity as leaders is to inspire and invite, and then
Hmm.
also provide consequences and feedback, right? That again
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's a free for all. Like if it's not,
And hold accountable too.
absolutely, because with authority comes accountability and
Hmm.
ownership. And we move out of I'll tell you, one of my favorite moments in my career over the years was one week where I had three different clients who had team members going on vacation, and those team members were writing their own ops manual for their position to make sure that people got it right while they were gone. Like that's the level of engagement that we're looking for and
Hmm.
inspiring.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I started my last career, which I was in for 27 years, the company had, okay, so we're putting you in this job, and we know that this job evolves over time. So right now, as you go for the next month, I want you to just write down your job breakdown analysis. And that's what we did. And so for years, that's what I would do, so that if I was sick or, on vacation, that I knew that somebody, even if it was my direct manager or supervisor, could do what I did and it would be done the way it should be done. And over time, that's people got away from. Why would you do that? Why would you take the time to do that? And it was because it made life easier for everyone involved, but it also made you more aware. Okay, so now I'm writing this. I'm looking at last year's iteration of this, and technology has changed things. So this isn't necessary anymore. That I shouldn't do that anymore. And you improved it and you made it more effective. And I think that's sometimes where we miss opportunities because we just do the same old, same old.
For sure. And I think um, I think we have to be careful with the ops manuals, right? I mean, yes, documenting what we're up to so that we can observe our own role and how it's evolving. But I don't think either you or I are talking about like a step-by-step guide of mouse clicks. We're talking about here's the resources to discover, here's what I've found to be most efficient, here's how the order of things that works best for me in this role that I'm, demonstrating competency in, so that somebody who comes in to cover isn't coming in blind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I agree that things are changing so quickly. Like if we did step by step anything, we could spend
It
our
would
entire
change.
lives, right? The software changed. Now we have to
Yeah.
redo everything. That's not useful. But it is useful to have the core framework of what you're doing documented for someone else to
And
follow.
also, like, if this goes wrong, call this person. That was always helpful too. It's like, oh, okay. Because
Right.
this went wrong when I was away, and there you go.
Yeah, and one of the things I recommend is definitely having, critical tasks cross-trained, and each person's responsible for knowing what their critical tasks are and cross-training that to someone. And when we build that in completely, if somebody's out sick, the other person knows, oh, I'm their backup for that critical task. So
Yeah,
it operates seamlessly.
that's very good. So what are the core components and I know we've probably talked about some of them of the virtual GM matrix, and how do you promote team ownership and accountability? And again, we have touched on some of this, but is there anything we've missed?
Um, the one core piece is, let's see. The one that comes to mind is understanding, which
Mm-hmm.
we've talked a little bit about from an owner's perspective, understanding what's going on. There is a key piece of the the team dynamic in both in recurring team meetings and dialogue. Are we
Mm-hmm.
talking about what we're doing? Are we checking in? Are we in relationship with each other? But also a key component that's new, I think, is moving out of doing reviews and looking backwards and really leaning into what I call recurring dialogues. So for as long as I've been in business, I've heard we need to change the review process. But every iteration of the review process that I've ever seen looks and feels the same. And it's moving into a conversation where you're sitting down and looking backwards, and people are like, oh, is there anything I don't know? And what's my salary adjustment going to be? And like that's about the framework of that conversation. So leaving that completely behind and making a commitment to the team that if there's something wrong with what's going on, I will tell you in real time. You will know in real time if there's an issue or something to improve. So we don't ever have to review that backwards because we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about that as we go. And then we come together periodically in whatever that frequency is for the company to talk about where you want to go next. And
Mm-hmm.
we're in that looking forward growth process rather than a
Yeah.
looking backward judgment process. And that really is a key component to changing the energy of the team as well.
Mm. Yeah. Opportunities for growth. Awesome. And I think it's important too, because I know as I had people working with me, it was, well, what do you want to do next? And how can I help you get to that? Where are you having a weakness that's going to keep you from getting that goal? And I think that changes the dynamics too between the leader and their employees or their team members, because now it's like, no, I know that you're not going to stay in this job, this position forever, and I want you to succeed and I want you to grow. And that confidence in that other person really is very powerful.
Absolutely. And it's I think a little, maybe, I don't know if ironic's the right word, but when a leader truly is invested in your growth and not insistent that I'm just trying to manage you to stay here forever, but I want you to grow and succeed and thrive, people will stay longer because
Yeah.
they're being fulfilled and growing and
Mm.
succeeding and thriving.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one thing. You mentioned confidence and building confidence in that. And I've been looking at your work, coming and preparing for this conversation. And one of the things that I have discovered is true is business owners, it's a the fears that we have as business owners are very private because we're in the community in a place where people see us on the
Yeah.
outside being
Mm,
successful. You have employees, you're doing the work, right? And it's not it's an it's hard to find a safe place to say, yes, I'm doing this, but whether I have the imposter syndrome or I just have uncertainties or I don't know if I'm doing it as well as I could, like
mm,
that piece is a piece that the community that is growing up around your virtual GM matrix is a safe place to foster
mm.
and support, right?
Yeah.
It's a very lonely place being a
Yeah.
business owner. You don't have any peers. Your family gets burnt out on the conversation. Your team is not the right people to share your concerns with.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to building that dynamic community where people can talk about that internal, hesitancy in their confidence, and
To be
supporting.
able to say, I screwed up on that. And this is what I learned. And, when you do have that community, that's why I love the coaching aspect and having mentors, because that's then you get to talk to people that have done that, walk the walk, screwed up and survived. And that's always so encouraging to know, oh God, this uber successful person has these fears, has these failures, and yet they survived. And this is how they did it. And how can I grow from that?
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, it's so rewarding when people find that connection, that identification. And, I said when I was a young woman, I was interested in small business. Like I love small business owners.
Mm,
Business owners, that market, I mean, that is the backbone of our economy. It is a driving force in our
mm,
employment and opportunity for people. Like I love the courage and the creativity and the ingenuity of people who launch out in business and are
mm.
providing, jobs and building teams and growing their companies. So I love to work with those folks.
Fantastic. So we're running out of time, but what steps should a business take to build that strong leadership and move away from management?
Well, the first thing I would encourage is read my book, Activate Your Virtual GM, and we'll look through all of the different steps. I am dedicated to get this work out into the hands of the business
Awesome.
community. So the I and or may and maybe if we back up a step, it's make a decision and understand that it can be different.
Yeah.
That you mentioned in the very beginning, there's up until now been two choices, and I think that's important to comment on that, we have the idea as owners that operations management or that piece of running the business is something that we have to figure out all of those pieces or we have to hire someone to be an operations or general manager to do it
Right.
for us.
Right.
And this idea that there's a third option, which is to take the components of operations management of
Mm,
that general management position and build it into the authority of the team that you have. It's leaner, it's more supportable for a small to mid-sized growth company,
mhm,
and it will free you up. So making a decision that it can be done differently, and you
mm,
can do it differently and live the life you really want running a business that you love, which is my mission
mm.
to support.
So that's a great mission to have and definitely needed out there. So, those of you that are listening, if you think, oh my gosh, I have to know more, I need to chat with Eden, I have, as always, her contact information on the slide. If you're just listening, you should go and grab that paper and pencil that you should have had from the beginning to take all these notes. But definitely, if you're watching, you can go ahead and get a screenshot. All this information will be in my Vicki Noethling YouTube channel, as well as the findyourleadershipconfidence.com website in the show notes. So for those that are listening, as always, I'll read. The website is yourvirtualgm.online. And again, that's yourvirtualgm.online. On Facebook, it's Your Biz Life, as well as Instagram. And LinkedIn, you can find her by just searching Eden Lovejoy, her name. But I'm going to turn it over to Eden to talk a little bit more about how you can find her book, when her book's coming out, and things you'll find on the virtual GM, yourvirtualgm.online, and how often she is in some of those social media sites, which she puts out there. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I want to make it really easy for you. So easy to remember if you're listening versus watching. To get the book, it is freebusinessbook.com. And you can go to freebusinessbook.com and download the full PDF of my
Awesome.
book, because I
Awesome.
do want to get this out to you. So that's first. On the website, yourvirtualgm.online, there are action plans for every step of the matrix that are also available to you. But again, I want to get the information out to you so you can find more information about the matrix and more information about how you can work with me directly if you'd like, or you can work with the action plans and put the system in place in your company independently, whatever's the best fit for you. The socials, we're on active on socials. LinkedIn, I'm active in daily, so that's probably the best place to connect with me on a daily basis. But we're sharing information on Facebook and Instagram at least 2 or 3 times a week, and that is maybe more motivational, inspirational reminders to take action, to move into action, those kinds of things. Probably most, yeah, LinkedIn is the place to find me for direct dialogue.
Awesome. Well, Eden, such a great conversation. We could talk for hours and hours on a lot of different aspects of what we have. We'll have to have you back to chat some more. But as always, you've been such a wonderful guest. I loved interviewing you and having our conversation.
Thank you so much, Vicki. It's been really a pleasure to meet with you today and share this information.
No. So as always, I remind my guest and everyone that life is a journey. It's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.